Remax episode 13, part 2. We're going to be talking about the WCS 2015 changes in just a second here. I'll pull it up. So Blizzard was like, you know what? People on Reddit keep saying Korea deserves more money, so we're going to fuck everyone in the ass except the Koreans. And no. So to be honest, like the thing that bothers me the most is the sort of bait and switch that they're like famous for the past couple of years now, where they come with an announcement or they have rumors of region locking, then they do like half announcements. So like this year they were like, all right, it's gonna be region locked, so Koreans beware. And then the second announcement is, no, just kidding. No, just kidding. We're just taking away a lot of the slots, and you guys are going to have to work hard. And, last year there were a lot of rumors about being region locked, but no, everyone was just grandfathered in 2014. So it was a soft region lock. It was not, there was a little bit of region lock, but it was very soft. And so this year, the thing is that bothers me personally is the amount of slots stay the same for NA. They haven't announced how much money for Challenger. We'll get to that just right now. I'll pull up everything. But just, your first, like, initial thoughts when you read this, Nathanias. What did you think of WCS, EU, and NA being combined? Basically, what were your thoughts when you read this? Did you know before?
So,
how long did you know?
No, actually, they didn't tell me. I was not aware. I was not aware of these changes at all. I was under the same impression as everyone else that it was going to be the same as this year, next year, except with
hard
region locking. Region locking. Yeah, the hard region lock, and that obviously, I'm all about that and a bag of chips. But when they announced these changes, like actually, I think it was like Carmack was like trying to get me to give a statement or something, and I'm like, I'm actually really not sure because I feel like I just haven't seen a really like enough. I think they mentioned a couple of things in the interview that Carmack had with.
She said it wasn't official. She said like they're thinking of doing $2,000 per player and challenger.
Yes,
which is like a big thing. Is it enough? That we'll have to discuss this, but
I think so. If Challenger is given that much prestige, the problem is, and this is everyone's problem with the American scene, is very obvious sense of entitlement. For a scene that's you could very easily say like, of course NA's been getting gangbanged by Koreans forever because they can't play on the European server, right? Like I don't disagree with that. I think it's great that the Koreans are gone. I want to see players like Arium and Guitar Cheese and Moo Skills and Kane and State. I mean, you guys actually managed to escape, and find success elsewhere, or whatever, be able to actually play the game, but. I don't think there's anything wrong with forcing Americans to play versus Europeans, especially if Challenger pays this well, because I think it's still 32 players in Challenger.
It's 16.
It's 16?
It's 16, and the thing is, it's 8 players coming down from Premier, so there's only 8 slots per season.
Are you sure it's only 16? I thought it was 32 as well.
I'll find the graphic. It was somewhere, but I'm a bad host. So
yeah, I don't mind. I like it. I think it's I think
it's good for the viewership. Like there's no denying that.
Yeah, the biggest thing, and this plays into something that we talked about before the show or
Sending
whatever.
you guys the graphics.
The biggest thing about all of this is that when you consider the amount of money for the amount of time broadcasted and the amount of games played. I still am not a fan of the whole lose 2 best of 3s and you're like done for 3 months thing, because I hate that. But now there's all we really need, and it sucks to use the word need because honestly, if we don't get this, then we're kind of fucked. But we need another league of some kind to replace the endless amount of WCS broadcasts. It doesn't have to obviously be as oversaturated as WCS, but it would be so cool if we just had like a fucking Dream League or NASL or something back again that could supplement, because we're going to have so much. There's an absurdly large amount of time that's been opened up for other tournaments to run for other tournaments to run their shit, or to make online leagues. Like there used to be dozens of them, but like now we really just need one or two, because the Korean guys are happy. There's always been tons of shit for Europeans to play in, and we just like one or two more leagues for like one for Europe, one for NA, and I think anybody that really works hard next year will have an opportunity for their practice to pay off.
Yeah, well, it opens up the door for Red Bull. They recently opened their studio, and it opens up the door for Dream League. The studio that Remax has, because their studio is worth $1 million, so they really have the room to do more than just a Dota League. But I just want to get the initial thoughts on Kane and then RifKin. So Kane, what were your thoughts when you saw this?
So as a player, especially as a player that's feeling quite confident in his play right now, I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, Europe and North America, as much as people want to say that Europe is a ton better than North America, it kind of is, and it's kind of not. Like, at the highest level, I think that they're very, very close. But at the mid level, like the mid-tier level, I'd say that there's a lot more Europeans that are really good. But I feel like right now I'm at the stage where I'm pretty confident versus most foreigners. So this European NA combination is really good for me, I think. In terms of how healthy it is for the scene, I think it'll give quite an incentive to NA players, especially NA up and coming players, to kind of show their talent, like Nate was saying. Because right now we don't really have a lot of that at all. Whereas Europeans, again, I'm kind of echoing what Nate said, but Europeans have a lot to play in. Up and comers like Gung Fu Banda and Showtime, stuff like that. They really have opportunities to showcase their skill, whereas North American players really don't in that aspect. So I'm pretty much looking forward to seeing what it'll do for the up-and-comers in NA.
What do you mean by that? Like, you don't think 8 slots per season is not enough?
Well, I mean, like with what I mean by that is WCS NA this year was like, as Nate put it, gangbanged by the Koreans.
Yes.
So if it's just Europeans and North Americans, I think it'll be a lot better for the up-and-comers.
I think a lot of people that are complaining about the number of seeds for, insert region here, like I look at like this graphic that we have, like you have 8 slots from North America. How many North Americans made it into the top 8 for WCS America this year?
9.
Top 8?
Hang on. No.
Top 8?
No.
Hang on, like before that too is exactly what he's saying, and that's what I was gonna jump to talk about. It's like there's like less than, like, I can count on 2 hands how many players I can think of that take this game super seriously as like a career, who put time and effort into it from North America. Like, there's really not that many. Like 8 seems so limiting, but like that actually seems very appropriate to me.
When you consider the results of American players and you look at which players actually got into Premier League, like I'm gonna pull this up really quickly, but off the top of my head, I can only think of a handful of players that make Premier League, that make that $2,000 cutoff consistently throughout this year of WCS. And like off the top of my head, Scarlet, and even she wasn't able in Premier League every season. Puck, Illusion had a season or 2, I think, and then after that, it's like it's one or 2. And Neeb was another one I was really happy about. Arium got in off Challenger.
I got in once. Come on, if you're gonna call Arium,
desRow got into Premier.
Just go to Copa America.
But like, do you see what I'm saying though? Like, if you have like one season or another, like, I look at this next year and I say, which American players can actually get in? If you have 8 guaranteed slots to Americans, there's a couple of very iffy, like, okay, you'll say, okay, well, Puck will probably get in. Scarlet will probably get in. Puck will probably get in. After that,
Violet.
I guess so. They'll take up 2 of the slots. So then you have like 3 spaces that otherwise were switched between random NA players or not up for grabs at all. And those 3 spots, like, you'll have Illusion get back in, maybe there'll be someone else really good that steps up. And
There's Kane. Kane's gonna make it, man.
yeah,
Of course.
State will have to come back to an A.
Kane, just let me know. You know that program we use at the Root House? That what was it called? The one we used to get better lag on NA. On
yeah,
Korea?
it was like battle ping.
Yeah. By the way, as just a quick tip, that will totally make it look like you're playing from America, Kappa HD. But if you happen to be training in Korea, but
No,
yeah,
but State
like, outside
and
of that,
Kane will have to come back to an A. Like, but your argument doesn't work because there's no team that sponsors any players in North America that makes their player play full time. You have like Huck, Scarlet, QXC, like that's stretching it, and then you have Kane who's on the EU team. There's like the growth of NA StarCraft 2 teams is like it's dead. There's nothing.
Let me put some down here from numbers from like the grassroots movement side of things, right? So you got WCS, they're gonna pull viewers from what they do. They got StarCraft behind it. That's great. So you see WCS America with like tons of viewers. Even with the more recent 32 Boys One Cup tournament, which I know, it's an amazing name. Shut up, guys. The thing is, the viewership never echoes what we see in other regions. It's really hard for a broadcaster, and I imagine this applies directly to sponsors trying to get their brand, their logo out there, whatever. It's really hard to find the willingness to invest into a North American related thing. I mean, to be honest, most of the world sleeps when it's the optimal time for North America to play things. And because of that, you get kind of a smaller fan base. There's a lot less hype. I mean, I got to tell you, I think the coolest stuff I saw recently, and I'm talking even compared to some of the Korean stuff we've been casting, Taiga, a.k.a. Drunken Boy versus State, was like this insanely weird Mech versus Protoss series. It was awesome for the San Jose qualifiers, but no one got to see that because nobody was freaking awake for it, right? Like, I think we had like 2,500 viewers or something for a game that like could have been like the best game I've seen in a long time, Mech versus anything. And at the same token too, this kind of goes back to like, I have not had any other region of player, with the exception of Bomber once due to a Red Bull conflict, a date he didn't know of. I've never had another region where I've ever had players cancel on me. North America, I have players cancel on me all the time, and it makes me really hate doing events because it's like suddenly, like, oh, I forgot I had school tomorrow, or just personal reasons, or this, that, the other. Like, I feel the North American region in general, it doesn't take itself seriously enough for other people to take it seriously. And I know that's the mean way of saying it, but that's exactly how it is.
I understand that. That's a fair point, but the fact of the matter is you're not going to take it seriously if it can't be your job. And it can't be your job if you're not going to have a team that's going to help you play full time. And with this, yes, we're going to have 6 American players. Pole Violet doesn't count. That's going to be in Premiere. They're going to play in the studio. So 6 players in the studio. Now, that's not a lot of options. That's not a lot of choice for teams like CLG coming from LoL, Curse coming from LoL. We could, before they change it up, we're going to have 32 American players or 16 North American players for the round of 16 of Premier League and the studio. That gives so much visibility for new teams wanting to invest into StarCraft. We could have even had Call of Duty teams like Optic or Team Envy, and the list goes on. So for me, that part of this new system really makes me sad and cry inside. But this is what it is, and it's going to be good for the viewership. So I just wanted to really talk about that point.
Nate brought up the whole thing of another league, and this isn't like Base Trade TV making an announcement, but like a cool idea. You bring up the whole viability of teams. Like, I'm surprised Blizzard hasn't really tried to take it upon themselves to run some sort of team league. I mean, I think Acer Team Story Cup got a lot of hype. It was really cool. If you could apply that somehow, I mean, all of a sudden there's like North American teams who might want to be able to get involved.
Yeah, but
instead of just, I know there's a lot of ifs and bad parts to it, like why it wouldn't work. But I'm just saying, if you're looking for a way to make teams more viable, like that to me just screams like maybe Blizzard should think about, even if it like was nothing for a prize pool, just something officially sanctioned, so there's some hype for it.
It's just at some point, like the problem with that, I guess there's like, it's not really a secret that shit like that is just way too expensive to do. Like, if you run like in Europe at least, like it's really not that difficult to travel. If you but like in US, there's so like all players are so spread out to run like actual shit like that. And the other problem is even if you did it online like ATC, like even they didn't make enough money to have the semis and the finals play out for season 2 live. Like season 1, I think they had the top 4 teams or something come out, or like top 5 or some shit. And then season 2, it was just the final at the actual event. And it's not like the worst thing ever, but I mean, I don't think team leagues are like the magical solution to everybody's problems. As much as I like them.
Well, it could have been an option. You know, Root moved to California. EG was there. They tried to make it happen with the EG Master Cup Team League, whatever, but it fell flat on its face. But yeah, just to go back, it'll all come down to how much love and attention Blizzard gives to Challenger, I feel, for the growth of things. Because it's not only the money that comes from the tournament, it's the teams that get players that are in those tournaments. And so, you know, it's not a round robin format, so to get a sponsor, you need like a good resume that you say like, okay, so I've been in every season last year, I'm going to be in every season this year, guaranteed. If you take someone like Puck, someone like Huck, so the growth side of things, it really feels like it has to be both team and tournament, in my point of view. But you know, Challenger, for every slot that there is for Premier League, there's 14 new challengers that are going to challenge. So it's going to be 4 China and 4 Challenger, so like 8 players. 4 players for Latin America, 4 for Southeast Asia, and 4 for Taiwan. Which I feel like, Kane, maybe you can talk about this. Do you feel like Taiwan's getting shafted at 2 players in Premier?
I mean, a little bit, because there's quite a few good players in Taiwan that don't get a lot of exposure. But like, for example, players like Slam, Ian, Haas. Haas got a little bit of exposure, but it wasn't good exposure. It was like because he was so cheesy and stuff. But those are all really, really good players. And there's more on Wei Spider as well.
Do you think Taiwan's better than China?
I don't think so. China has like Max and Jim and XY and Shigua and players like that. So yeah, I don't think it's fair to say that Taiwan is better than China. But the Taiwanese scene is more healthier than China's, I think. There's more stuff going on in Taiwan.
I think one of the big things too, though, is like that section of the world, man. It's really hard to communicate with people. The latency is horrible from there to anywhere else. I mean. Even when we cast the Leaf Fan Cup, players are complaining about how they don't even like playing Korea. It's so bad. So I mean, like, it sucks, but that may have very well been something that was considered when giving slots out. Like, is it going to be impossible to communicate with these guys to actually get them over here, or even have them play in the first place?
Nathanias, your thoughts on China, Taiwan?
I wish those guys could have their own league too, man. I wish everybody had their own league.
Chinese players are good. I like a lot of the Chinese players.
The Chinese players are good. They show us strategies that aren't boring, and they're actually pretty funny, man. Some of those guys are fucking awesome to hang out with and talk. Yeah.
Do you guys feel like Southeast Asia should just been included in North America? Like, give us 10 slots, and then we can just knock them out.
There's so much more to Southeast Asia. Like it's a really broad region. Like,
yeah, there are so many people there. Like the turnout for their events, like the number of players that I hear about, like those guys really, like I guess it's not in our hands because we're so far away, but I'm really blown away that, like, I know there are some leagues and tournaments that happen, but they usually invite non-Chinese players for exposure, but like, I really don't understand how there's not some sort of actual league that just the Chinese guys play in all the time. Like, there's some of the companies that I hear about, like the money put into the big international events. I don't know where I don't even know if they're struggling because I never hear anything about them.
I meant more like Australia.
Oh, those guys.
Yes, those cunts.
Like, it's a unique look at Igas, right?
It's tough, man. Those guys can't even play they can't even play LAN events because like their ping to their own server is like 200 minimum.
Well,
like,
not only that, but they're like more screwed than us when it comes to traveling. Or more, like since Australia's so big.
Yeah, well, that's what I was talking about too. I mean, like, look at Igas breakout performance of like the last season. Like, I think without question. And
yes, for sure.
That would have never happened. Like, had he not probably been in the root house in the first place, had he not actually come all the way to North America. So like on one hand, it kind of sucks that he had to, but on the other hand, like because he did, he got such better results. And I'm not saying that all of Australians that want to be taken seriously should move to North America, but like again, it's kind of like you can't loop them in without forcing them to be in that area, right? Like it's so. I imagine this was probably the toughest job for Blizzard. I don't think anyone just took a dart and threw it at a board and said, okay, that's North America, that's C. Like, when they probably divided each of these up and gave each of the slots out, it's probably not easy to determine what goes where, because there are amazing gems in each region of the world. It just sucks that, like, there are limited slots. And I think they did, to be honest, a fairly fair job of cutting it up.
Mm-hmm. So we don't actually have any European on the panel, except Kane, who's like half European.
I'll be the European representative. It's okay.
Do you
ask away?
So since Challenger is Kim said it wasn't confirmed, but since Challenger gets 2K possibly, does EU get shafted by having by this? Because they had like the most representative out of like NA and EU. They had like the most EU players in Premier. Because they lose a lot of slots technically, but then if Challenger is 2K, then they still have like 28 people total.
Okay, I take it back. I'm not qualified to answer this question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If like the Koreans are pushed out, like for GG, MC, and so on, then you know, I think 28 slots is a lot. But if the Koreans are allowed to stay, I feel like we're gonna see a lot of EU pro retire next year. Is that fair to say?
I don't think we've heard enough from any organizations, like the fact that even in the interview or whatever, people were saying like it's not all 100% finalized. Like there's been no time for any organization to be like, because there's less WCS, we can actually do something, or like another sponsor to come in, at least for Europe, because like the European guys actually, like the Europeans take care of their shit really well. Like, I mean, I'd be surprised if an American league popped up, but like if something doesn't happen in Europe next year outside of WCS, that would probably be the bigger surprise for me.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't think we'd see. It's weird. This kind of again goes back to like my experience with the tournament scenes. Is kind of limited, I suppose, in my scope of view. But Europeans are the first ones to me that are like, bring on the Koreans. I want to prove my worth. Like, yeah. I mean, for Koreans to be in Europe, I don't think anyone's gonna be like, well, I'm Hearthstone, I'm packing it in. Not a chance to beat MC. No, he'll train extra hard. He'll upset the world by like beating.
Yeah, but
MC,
I don't mean like Hearthstone is like top of the food chain. I mean like, you know.
But that's not even Hearthstone. Look at players like Gung Fu Banda. Kane mentioned him earlier. Up and coming. This guy used to just cheese all the time. I cast a Zotek, I would roll my eyes. Okay, still does. Fair enough. But now he also plays really good macro, and I've actually seen him go up against some Koreans in these like qualifiers and things. So it's not like these guys who aren't already at the top of the chain have given up and they're like, oh, fuck this, like I'm done, Koreans. I actually love the fact that, and that's why I love working with the European region. Like these guys actually fight, and the culture over there kind of lets you know, as Nate pointed out, there's a lot more for them to get involved with, so it makes sense that there's more like full-time players. But that's the thing, like they're the first ones that are gonna be like, bring on the Koreans. They're the last ones to be like, I'm retiring because of the Koreans.
But no, it's not because of the Koreans, man. They're just losing slots like overall. Like in terms of like potential money to be earned, there's just less people getting paid.
It's the same logic. They're just gonna fight harder, and that's what I really like about it. Like, okay, there's more people and it's like limited, but
yeah, but it's a stigma. Like you think it's that way, but at the end of the day, like if you can't pay your bills because there's less slots.
But that assumes
like
that Blizzard's not the only event, desRow. I mean, that's the thing.
What's the latest big pickup from a team?
desRow, after everyone got knocked out at the first time of like WCS and they had to sit there for 3 months, do you think they starved to death and like fucking like
No, but look, what's the latest team that picked up a big player? Like Millennium with Vortex 6 months ago. Like there's just no roster change. There's no new team investing into StarCraft. Like, well, I mean, I can be wrong. You can be right. We can do another Remax in 3 months, and I can, you know, pop a bottle and celebrate.
This is like
I actually kind of gotta. Sorry, RifKin. I gotta actually kind of side with desRow on this one. Yeah, I'm a bit worried that we'll see a few retirements, but I mean, I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. Who knows, right? I think it's almost best not to speculate at this point and just see what happens. I'm
not trying to make this like a I'm right, desRow's wrong scenario, but I am just saying like I think that it's not going to be so black and white, that it's not so do or die. You know, it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, that's very possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well,
I understand what you're
yeah.
saying.
There's still okay. So here's the thing. This last in Premier League, right? I had the thing open. All right. Premier League of this season, round of 32, there was a total of 22 Europeans and 10 Koreans for this season. So they're just losing out on 6 slots. And if the Koreans are allowed to stay, then they're losing out on, I don't know how to count right now. But it's still like 24 slots, is it? No, 28 slots for next year, if you count Challenger. For Europe, is still a lot, so I don't think we'll see too many retirements, but that was a concern when I saw it at first, because they didn't say the prize format of Challenger, so I was like, wow, 14 players, really? But yeah, no, RifKin, there's, I think it's like 50-50, or maybe like 60 your way, 40 my way. But it was a decent issue to raise concerns about.
Yeah.
The biggest problem is that the only thing we have to compare to this WCS that we're looking at next year is the current system, which the current system, by the way, I think for players is amazing if you have that hard region lock. But the biggest problem is, like, I guess as you said earlier, like the kind of flippy floppishness from Blizzard, that it's like, you pretty much, like, you put like this 10 out of 10 chick, you're like, yeah, you're pretty much guaranteed to get this girl, you know, like if you keep playing next year. But now it's like, well, actually it's probably going to be maybe like close to like a 7, and it's, you know, like the best players, I mean, you know, I guess it won't still be too difficult for them to get, you know, what they want out of the system. But I think for people, I still believe that the hard region lock should give enough incentive for someone to be like, yeah, I can beat any of these other European guys. Like, you know, even if they're not at the top of the food chain, they'll still be able to tell themselves, like, I think I have a better chance of taking out, you know, like Grubby or, you know, Hasawabs rather than having to beat Jokji.
For sure. I agree. Last point of topic, and I think after that we're going to move on. So now that they're merging so there's just going to be less broadcast, but there's going to be, so the way they're doing it, if I read this right, is they're going to be like 4 groups, because, you know, round of 32, 4 players, that's 8 groups total, right? Or
Yeah.
yes, okay. My math. So there's going to be 4 groups in Burbank and 4 groups in Europe. So if we're lucky, the NA groups, or whatever the groups played in NA, will be at a convenient time for Europe, because technically there's some European players possibly playing in NA. If we come to a point where WCS is like every Saturday, you know, and it's good for EU and NA, the time zone it's played in, then the viewership will have growth. I don't know what you guys think. Which day would be better? You know, what time? RifKin, why don't you tell us more?
Man, it's funny you say viewership growth, though. I mean, I think the thing is,
it's the purpose of this new format.
No, I agree, but it's just funny because I feel you can only rearrange things a certain amount of ways until you realize it's all the same stuff, right? Like, StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm is old at this point, let's be honest. In terms of like gaming, it's like one of the older ones. The fact that it's still around competitively, even though it's like on the decline and dead game or whatever, like, it's still impressive that it's still around to the degree it is. But I kind of feel like you can only shuffle it so much. Like, it's the viewership growth that I think a lot of people are hoping for isn't going to come with anything in Heart of the Swarm. It's going to have to come with like something like Legacy of the Void or some major change. Like, the tournaments are cool, but I think a lot of the people who already like StarCraft tournaments are going to watch it no matter what. Like, if I'm a big WCS fan, I don't care if you're doing King of the Hill, round robin, group stages. Like, I'll be watching it because I want to see my favorite players play. But that doesn't necessarily mean it'll attract new viewers. So I kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, the broadcast schedule is one thing. I know there's always been the issue with like oversaturation with content, especially with all these random tournaments popping up. But I think I don't know. I don't think it's going to inspire the craziest growth in viewership. I know it's going to be nice to see, and I think all these changes benefit the audience way better than, say, the players. But I don't know. I'm seeing this as like a band-aid more than like an actual solution. No matter how I look at it.
Are you not optimistic?
I'm not optimistic. I'm just not as optimistic, I think, as everyone else seems to be taking the changes.
Okay. Because maybe Nathanias can tell us more about that, but I think like WCS and A are a bunch of dumbasses. Like the round of 8 was like The round of 8 started at 5 p.m. on a weekend. Like, hello.
Okay.
Why would you
Okay.
have a European watch at 1 a.m. or
This goes into what I wanted to talk about. I have a lot to say about this, and first of all, I love the ESL guys. There's not a single person that works there that I've met that I don't like, but there is an inherent problem in having something as important as WCS be run by a company that competes in the same space, right? Like you basically, when you look at the scheduling for WCS, there's a huge vertical integration issue, and doesn't have to be a bad thing. But the problem is that ESL as a company, it's not like you run WCS. It's no secret that WCS doesn't make a shit ton of money. So it's not like the company's making some massive profit where their whole entire goal is, wow, we're making so much money, we should put all of it back into this and make this the greatest thing ever. Because that's not the impression that I think anybody's been getting at this point. So for example, around the time of the WCS America Season 2 finals, there was EPS in New York or something, EMS, some big Dota 2 tournament, and there are
you mean Season 3 finals, right?
Season 3 finals.
Okay,
yeah,
you said Season 2.
There are issues created by ESL running 2 events that close to each other across the country when you have one American office, right? You can only have so much of your hardware in one place to actually run both of the events. There are pieces that are, either hurt the quality of the Dota broadcast or they hurt the quality of our broadcast because there's other personnel that aren't there, or whatever. So, ESL's company, they got to do what they got to do, right? They're going to run events under the WCS brand that they manage, and they're going to run events under their own brand. But that also creates issues where the scheduling, which is the number one thing that I really hate, that, anybody that really streams a lot or watches a lot of streams understands what makes people want to tune in. I don't think it's any secret that there are formulas out there that work very well. For example, RifKin casting you work all the time, but you do a really good job of maintaining a schedule, and that's like, I fucking stream ladder, like is this most like, okay, Korean pro gamer can't get viewers, but random people can. And the problem here is that because the event scheduling moves things around, you have a big event like IEM Toronto, which is run by ESL. You have Red Bull Battlegrounds DC, which is the equipment there is it's largely ESL equipment. So suddenly you create this big gap between the round of 16 and everything else in the finals. And it's not like there was it's not like, like there wasn't time to fit it in. You have to move so much stuff. You have to move so much personnel that it just, it's very convenient to be able to control all of that. But because of it, you aren't able to have a schedule that makes a lot of sense for the average viewer. It's difficult to follow. You have such a huge gap between the season finals and the actual matches played that, people will either get disinterested or they'll lose track of it and they won't tune in. And that's without even going into the huge problem obviously involved with like the way the actual stream is set up, right? Like sub mode chat, restricting quality, blah, 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 blah. Seems like people don't ever seem to mention that with like, why does League of Legends have so many viewers? Well, the first things first, you don't have to pay to talk and watch the stream at good quality. And it's it's not like it's any secret. It's not like you're making millions of dollars by blocking everyone out. Like there's so many better avenues to use the tools available to drive viewership. Like people like emotes. The number of people that have messaged me in the last 3 days, I think I've got like 50 different people that just messaged me because I logged in with like this fucking trophy portrait that I got for subbing to the WCS America and Europe this year. The number of people like harassing me about how they can get it and then asking me if they sub right now, if they can still get it, is like, it's stupid. Like there's so many better ways to incentivize people to watch your stream. Yeah, it's really dumb.
Behind
like,
you.
Oh,
Sorry.
I think the thing is, I know this guy wouldn't disagree with me either. I really hate the way that the streams are incentivized for viewers to watch, and it's absolutely ridiculous that any competitive esport tournament restricts source quality at this point. And I would even still say that about like the Korean tournaments. It's absolutely ridiculous.
So I can actually speak on this with a lot of experience. first off, I got a lot of friends that kind of converted from WoW who never seen a game of StarCraft in life. In fact, the wonderful person who makes my emoticons, Corona, she actually bought StarCraft 2 last night just because she has so many of our fans constantly messaging her about the emotes she makes for us. Like, there's definitely a lot that comes from the extras with this. But the sub-only mode is the one thing I've never got. I've never understood. Like, when I tune in for a WCS broadcast and it's in sub-only mode, and I don't sub, I'm that guy. I'm guilty. I don't sub to WCS. And there's like 12 people in chat. I'm like, okay, I'll just open up my chat on another window. You know, I'll tweet about it. There are 30, 40 people talking. Like, it's insanely more. You get involved just by talking in chat. Your opinion of like that move was bullshit. Someone agrees with you with it. All of a sudden, you're emotionally invested in that match.
You know, it's totally true. So Nathanias, just what day would you have WCS and what time?
Well,
and wait. Hold on. Would you tell all the organizers? Would you get your schedule ready like right now and tell everyone else to fuck off with breaking up WCS round of 32, 16, round of 8 finals? Because that's what happened. That's what you were mentioning. Like.
The side problem with that is that ESL, for example, doesn't announce the dates for their events until like 2 or 3 months in advance. Like,
well, there's maybe more people than ESL and A that can do StarCraft.
Yeah.
No, but this was a problem with WCS
my point is that companies like, you know, I'm not trying to compare, say anyone's better, but DreamHack puts the schedule for their events. Like, I think right now, if you go, you can find when DreamHack Summer and Winter in like 2016, like they already have the dates. Like, they put everything so far out ahead. It's really easy to schedule around that. But if you had to like have an actual time, they need to set it and be like every other X day, because with the format that they're using next year, it's very easy, since they're in control of both regions, for ESL to say, if we don't have to have 2 broadcasts in the same day because we split the broadcast between regions, then you'd be like Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, whatever. So it's a good time for Europeans to get on home. It's on a Saturday or some shit. And there will always be reasons why people can't watch, but the point is you have to have it on a consistent enough schedule that someone could be like, oh, it's November, season 2 just started or something, I guess, fucking June or something. Season 2 just started. If I tune in to Twitch at 10 a.m., at 10 or like 2 o'clock, when I get home from work or some shit, I'll be able to watch StarCraft. It won't be this, I just watched the first round of 32 group last Saturday. This Saturday, there's nothing. Why? And it turns out like there's some Dota tournament that the person doesn't even follow happening, and it's like, well, sorry, all of our equipment is in Paris or some shit, so we're not gonna do WCS. Fuck off, StarCraft viewers. Like, I understand that's like I said, that comes back to you have one company running multiple different big events, and it's in their best interest to obviously do what makes sense for them. But this is one of the reasons why, like, you need another big league to either handle. You need like WCS to either become its own beast, or you need another league to just fill those gaps. Because honestly, not being able to follow WCS is like I'd say it's almost impossible. You have issues, I think, even this year where the organizers we didn't have Team Liquid posts for the round of 16 or something. Like, it wasn't on like the community forum calendars when the round of 16 was. People were like tweeting me questions like, what time does it start? And like, why do people have to ask these? Like, how is the information not made available enough? Like, there's lots of tiny things, but the most important part is that you stick to an easy enough follow schedule that someone can be like, round of 32 starts this Saturday. Tune in the next 4 Saturdays to watch the 4 broadcasts from the American studio. Then if you need to have a week off, you do that when you switch between regions or something. Like, it's obviously there are reasons why the company, why it might be difficult, but if you can't do that, then you can't complain.
I think a really big this is actually something that's been a really big problem for me personally. Scheduling. Like, I'm not sure what happened, how it fell apart. Like, I feel like they tried really hard for for last year's WCS, which was great. But like, even on the WCS website, like wcs.battle.net/schedule or whatever, matches were never posted. The dates are wrong like half the time. And like I had to actually go through and get players to give me the schedule for like the Europe round of 16 or something because it wasn't posted on the WCS website until like 3 days beforehand. And like for me, that's different because I was trying to schedule an event. But like if I'm a fan, how do I know when the round of 16 starts? How do I know when the European finals are? Like it sucks that the one thing that should be the TV guide, so to speak, of WCS events isn't even always either accurate or up to date. So
Yeah.
it's this isn't just WCS. Like we're cracking on this a lot. Like I really think there should be a professional position in esports where each organization has to have like a diplomatic fucking schedule or something that could talk to the other diplomatic schedulers from
Well,
MSI or whatever. Like
Diplomatic?
it's.
Really?
Well, I'm just saying like, it's ridiculous how nobody posts anything. Like for what was it? IEM Toronto, I think qualifiers last season, they or like 3 months ago for Toronto, they weren't posted until like 3 days before the actual qualifier.
Yeah, I think
Like, there's
ESL
no
is
information
really
about
bad
that.
at that. They need to
But
get their shit together.
it's not just ESL is the
Yeah.
problem. Like Nate brings up DreamHack, they're good. I'll give them credit on that. But a lot of organizations, it's kind of like, oh, so that's happening. I didn't know. I'm really glad I scheduled this big tournament for that weekend, and now I got to move my whole thing around. You know, like it's a common occurrence that I wish could be eliminated, but it probably never would.
Yeah,
Like there's just so much parts.
this year, I believe all the dates and the locations for the Red Bull events were announced very well in advance. But for WCS, I think it was it season 2 finals. I want like this is just such it seems like such a tiny thing, but I think it was right before that ESL won in New York or whatever. And the date for the date that the actual finals were supposed to be held on changed like 3 or 4 times. And it's not like the dates. It's not like they were bad. It was scheduling around partially that event, but not being able to pick the dates far ahead of time because you have conflicting projects you're working on is like an obvious huge issue that either needs to be resolved by with how few broadcasts are. I'd be really surprised if this happened again. Like I'm not saying that it's like ESL's fault because you do have to manage like dozens of broadcasts between Europe and NA to not conflict with you moving equipment for other events or other events that you can't compete with. Like one example being like like DreamHack Stockholm was really close to the event because for me that's a potential like well I want this is an event that I'm going to go work at. If you're going to run it at the same time, like that complicates other things. But putting a schedule out ahead of time, like an actual real schedule that makes sense, is I would say one of the big keys for WCS and other leagues to be successful next year. Because one reason, spoiler alert, there were other, I won't say who, the people wanted to run, there were potential for other tournaments to happen in 2014. But the fact that there's absolutely no way at all to predict when any WCS broadcast was going to be made it seem like a very poor idea because it would be impossible for them to schedule their own event. So it doesn't, it's not just WCS's success that depends on, being able to follow the fucking tournament, but also other tournaments to be able to say, we're not going to randomly have someone tell us we can't broadcast on this day because they decided to move their broadcast, which has happened before to other tournaments and has, funnily enough, gotten those tournaments flack because people are like, well, why did they randomly just change their date, without realizing that, they didn't know WCS was supposed to be broadcasted. And all those tournaments get pre-approved, by the way, for their dates, like way ahead of time. So stuff like that happening, like it, honestly, like in 2015, that needs to be avoided, or you're just going to see like, if the companies that are like working on this can't come together, like at least actually not conflict with themselves at least, then I don't know. I don't think it's gonna, if you want to drive viewership, you're not heading in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully they hear our message. I don't know if any ESL employees watch this show, but hopefully it goes through the crack and gets to them. We got just one news item before we move on to the viewer questions, which you can still ask by doing ! questions in chat or ! Reddit. And it's if Fnatic and Neeb part ways. Kane, what are your thoughts on this?
If what part ways? I didn't catch
Neeb.
that. Oh, Neeb and Fnatic part ways.
Yes, and like he was on the academy. He was a really good player, like good enough to be on the main roster.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's a good player, but I don't see, like, he was in WCS Premier, and I think that's when Fnatic picked him up around then, or slightly before then.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I haven't seen him playing in any tournaments, haven't seen him streaming. I just don't see what Fnatic could gain from having him on the team right now.
Well, he's also like their only American player, isn't he? Like,
Yeah, I think so. I
So
just don't see what benefit he offers the team. Like, when you're on a team, it's a reciprocal relationship. You give to the team team gives to you. Usually, you give to the team in ways like exposure, playing in tournaments, streaming, promoting their sponsors, stuff like that. And in all honesty, I haven't seen Neeb do any of that. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know Neeb was on Fnatic until, like, I knew he was at one point, but then today it just reminded me, and I thought, oh yeah, Neeb's on Fnatic. How long has that been going on? Like, it's just not something. It just doesn't benefit Fnatic in any way to have him on the team right now. That could change in the upcoming months with WCS Premier, because you're right, he is an extremely good player. So who knows, that might change, and maybe Fnatic will regret dropping him. But right now, I can understand their decision.
there's actually a little more to that too. XMG is an example of this. I was talking with Todd. I was finding like, you know what? I'm curious. Like, how much does an XMG laptop cost? You can't get that in North America. So like to have a European sponsor on like a European team like Fnatic sponsor like a European player, it makes sense. But like to be with Neeb like in America across the seas where maybe half the products don't apply type thing, like it kind of also makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah. Well, that was like people were like surprised like when Illusion got picked up by Mouse, like
Yeah.
and that ended very quickly. Illusion is actually gets around quite a bit in NA as far as like the online stuff. I don't know in the last few months, but like he was this year I can recall seeing him in quite a few tournaments. But yeah, like doesn't some it's like great you're on a team, but all your sponsors are in Europe and yeah like you said. You can't actually get.
Kane.
There's no outlets for that.
But
No, but
With
me, we
the
have.
difference is Kane actually
okay.
comes on shows like this. Like Kane goes beyond playing in American tournaments, which is it's like so you get exposure no matter what. And look at this
And what's
thing
more,
behind him. Like come on.
Yes, I was just gonna mention that. The entire show, I've been subliminally messaging all of you with this beautiful Red Bull fridge.
Just admit it. Penguin moved it there because he knows you go on every talk show you can.
No, actually, we moved it for the commercial that we filmed on Sunday.
I was talking with Nathanias before the show, and we were talking about how big of a whore you are, and you never say no.
What do you mean?
No, you never say no to a talk show. You're like, sure,
yeah.
Lycan, sure, desRow, I'll go on your show. Please, let me come on.
Part of it is that I just really enjoy being on these shows, and part of it is it's good exposure for me, my team.
Dude, you don't have to justify. I'm just making fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, you're a good guest. Otherwise, I wouldn't have invited you so many times. So.
No, thank you.
If
You're
you guys
such a doll.
haven't been on Remax yet, consider now.
All right, guys, it's time for the viewer questions. And actually, I just realized we didn't talk about a round of 8 for BlizzCon. So, Rip, we think our favorite players are gonna win. All right,
There'll be lots of exciting StarCraft action.
Yes, viewer questions. Okay, I'm a terrible host. Alright, so Jatakak, is that Jack Attack? Yeah, recently, recently showcased the scan range effect and his desire to have a change for Legacy of the Void. Are there other micro changes you would like to see? I guess we can just answer the first part. What are your thoughts on the scan range effect? You think it's legit?
So I watched the video after seeing that question, and first of all, shout out to Jack Attack for doing material and content like that because that's really cool. And I'd never learn about that in any other way. So big shout out to him. I think that it's a really obvious thing that Blizzard can fix. I think it adds to the game, adds to the skill cap. I would say. Yeah. I just think it's something that is pretty obvious that they should change, but who knows, right? Who knows what'll happen?
I got like shed on Reddit because you know what I said to it?
What?
Zerglings and Marines are very small to click on for my stalkers. Therefore, I feel like it would be good and it'd be a nice change. And then everyone started attacking me, being like, well, it requires more skill to be able to click a Zergling or a Marine, so you should just play better. What are
I
your
mean,
thoughts? Yeah, RifKin, go ahead.
For all the crap Starbow got, I actually learned a lot about these mechanics because of the way Starbow was developed. Like I never knew what backswing was for Zerglings for a long time. And for those who don't know what that is, it's when they melee, they have to stop moving for a second to perform that melee attack, and they continue moving. Like there's so much more that goes into StarCraft 2. It's things like that where you're like, wow, you know what? I remember this specifically. I was talking on the cast. I was like, oh, stalkers are like retarded. Sometimes they get shot by the widow mine, sometimes they don't. But now I know why, and I never knew that there was more to it than like simple control type things. So it's really cool that this stuff's being brought to light. But at the same time, I feel like a change to this only affects people at the very top, like the very smallest percentage of StarCraft 2 players. So I can't see Blizzard prioritizing it, but it's cool to know the reasons on why things work the way they do. So I second the shout out to Jack Attack.
Yes.
I find it cool that we're 3 or 4 years into StarCraft 2, and we're still finding out little things like this.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's really neat.
it's just because like there used to be so many nerds. Like people calculated like they ran like build order simulators for like 50,000 times to see what was the most viable economical opening for Zerg and stuff like that. And then once the hype died down, we lost a lot of smart people. But Jack Attack remained as one of the smart people doing stuff for her scene. So
One of
So
the
you have some
nerds.
trouble with the text on stream there, bud? Like, Jesus.
I have given up. Nathanias, what are your thoughts?
I don't even understand what you just said there. So yeah, I guess I go on the Jack Attack hype train. It's great. The things like this are so weird because we're at a point, and I just I as someone who was the biggest casual you could possibly have been in Brood War, I need to, as In Control would say, don my monocle and say that anybody who believes that something like this should be removed, you are going against the whole thing that everyone whined about when StarCraft 2 came out, which was mechanics making things easier for people, right? So if my mocking Brood War elitist says you always want to keep this shit in because it makes the game more difficult because it's such a scrub ass easy game to play anyway, Kappa. But
Yeah, but then it gives you time to do more fancy stuff.
yo, man, I think being able to focus fire is one of the most difficult things that you can do, man. I know exactly what you mean.
It's-
Clicking on Zerglings and shit with Reapers, and otherwise you lose your shit to like a queen. But I don't think it's like big enough of a deal because any good player understands that a stalker might walk into a widow mine. So you want to target fire when you have your observer anyway. Like this affects people at the low, like this. You know what? Actually, I don't even think it would affect people on the low end. You're like looking at low GM, like players that are good enough to get in a position where they're
I've seen
fighting with
pros
stalkers.
lose that shit.
Well,
But-
then it's a skill-defining characteristic to be able to work around the limitations of the game engine.
So what you're kind of saying, Nathanias, is I never played Brood War, but from what I understand, there was like certain errors or bugs, not really bugs, but errors in the game that made it more mechanically demanding. And this is one of those things for StarCraft 2.
The difference between this, like I was just being sarcastic. Brood War, most of the problems, like you couldn't. There's actually like RNG and shit with the AI, but for this, it's like the units that it affects. It's reasonably predictable enough to the point where it should be left in because it allows you, as someone who pays attention to things like this, to get an edge over an opponent who otherwise wouldn't notice or react in time. The big things that people don't think about when they look at shit like this is if this scan range thing was removed, like, do you think if you're a Terran player, you think like trying to kill a Banshee is tough now? You will never kill the Banshee with your Marines if the Banshee doesn't occasionally take that extra step forward when it turns around to attack. Like that's one of the reasons why things like that are parts of the game. Like so you have ways to show your skill by target firing with the Banshee or using hold position micro. But if you remove that aspect, you're making things that people are currently impressed by very simple, and people don't see the lingering effects of this. The first thought everyone has is, well, yeah, of course stalkers shouldn't get hit by widow mines. Like this is absolutely criminal. But if this was changed, I think people would start to notice pretty quickly how it affects other things. And even I myself can't exactly think about those, but I have a feeling that it would affect more than people might anticipate.
Okay, so when we first introduced this topic, I said it's something that Blizzard should obviously fix. I'm now changing my decision after hearing Nathanias's reasoning on that. So I think now that they should leave it in after hearing that.
As
Thank you, Nate.
As the Protoss player on the show, I disagree with Kane and Nathanias.
I just want to throw it too. This doesn't just affect this one instance of a Widowmine versus Stalker. Like, I think it's the most obvious one that got brought up, but there's so much more to it. And I mean, even with the joke with the whole desRow can't click units, I mean, it's stuff like this that separates the top 1% from the top 2%. It's like when you see Marine King or Salvation or Reality, like Focus Fire Banelings, you get that, like, oh my god moment type feeling. Like, that comes from things like this, like the small amount of control, that difference of, like, again, the very, very tippy top of things. So
okay, so can we make Stalkers as small as Marines and Zerglings? Or as small as Marines, so Stalker versus Marine is equally hard for the Terran player?
well, we'd have to scale down the health and the shields and
but the thing is, if you're looking at, like, what, like the example that you're talking about, though, like target firing Stalkers, you're almost always using short range units anyway. Like, the only unit it would affect against Stalker is a Marauder because it has 6 range. But like, this makes other things, for example, like, I'm sure you like sometimes when Vikings fly a little further than they should to try to hit a Colossus.
Yeah!
This is, if you remove this, then Vikings will never accidentally walk too
You've
far to
convinced
attack.
me.
If you remove this, every Zerg player will want to kill themselves because Colossi will never accidentally take a step forward, which allows, oh, well, you know, I didn't think my Roaches and Hydras were in range. I don't know why that Colossus took an extra step, but, you know, because the guy didn't micro his shit, he loses it. Like, there's so many tiny things that people don't consider. You know, this would actually make Tempests and Carriers a lot better because they have such a ridiculously large range that if they had an infinite scan range, then suddenly your fucking Carriers are OP because they never actually move. They wouldn't have to move to attack. They would just immediately release all their interceptors within like 13 range, and then shit gets crazy. So
we'll see a Carrier come back? Alright, I changed my mind once again. Alright, moving on to the next question, guys. What do you think about Korea having 2 leagues? Since the level discrepancy, wow, between the top and mid Korean seems so high, will it not be the same players in both? Did I fuck up the question? And
what was that question?
Alright, so now that there's 2 leagues in Korea, isn't it gonna be just the same players? Because they're like, it's very different from like the high and the high tier and the mid tier.
Nah, man. No way.
No, I don't think so either.
Because the best players statistically in Pro League were not the best players statistically in GSL, right? If it's all in Korea, like, why don't all players have the same stats? No, they're gonna focus on certain leagues more than another. I have a strange feeling that Kespa players, if the SPO TV league will probably be more important to them than the GSL league, especially if the prize money is similar. And the
GSL has more money.
Impact.
By 25K.
But Pro League is, you know, you can win GSL, but you know, the thing that's gonna hurt you a lot is if you don't perform in Pro League, right? For those guys, like everybody, it's not. I'm not saying that, you know, you can't win GSL, lose all your Pro League matches, and still be on your fucking team. I'm just saying that you're gonna have players who are like, first of all, the Kespa guys will be like doing Pro League next year or whatever. If they have, I don't even know if they're. I guess I don't know. But anyway, they're not gonna look and say, I can prepare full time for both leagues. Like, no.
Well, hang on. Sorry, Olivia just messaged me from Axiom. It says they actually agree that the leagues aren't going to be run simultaneously, so it's not like you're going to be picking and choosing.
Oh, well, then it doesn't. Well, then.
Yeah.
In that case, I think if the players that put the most time in, probably the Kessler players in that case will have the most success because they won't take any time off in between the leagues, especially if it's during Pro League. So in that particular instance, I can see how the same players would win, but this also gives, it's still back to the comment I made earlier about WCS, the lose 2 best of 3s and you're done for 3 months thing. It gives you a chance if you lost in one league, you know, like instead of waiting until whenever the next GSL would be, at least you have something else that you can try in, especially if you think that you lost because you had a bad day, you know. You remove the bad day problem for StarCraft.
All right. I'm here with the logic, all right? So I think it's safe to say that there's only like a handful of players that are consistent. I wouldn't even go as far to say there's 10 consistent Korean players. You always see, like, whenever there's results for IEM or whatever, There's always breaking out performances where, like, you'll see Super do super well on the Kespa qualifier. You'll see, Muru doesn't do so well. There's another guy that did super well, like, what the fuck was his name? Sorry, from SKT. Like, who the fuck is Sorry? So I think you'll see, like, I think the superstars are gonna be even more famous, and I think we're gonna see more like Sora type of stories, because they'll have 2 leagues and they'll have so many more opportunities to showcase their breakout performances. What are your thoughts, RifKin? You seem skeptical, man. I want to smile.
Well, I don't know how I'm saying. I haven't said 2 words other than like just hey, they're not running simultaneously.
Yeah.
I don't know. My experience is it's interesting. I've seen I kind of with the Olima League, we're getting what is the B-listers, I guess, of Korea already.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, whether you've got like the top of the GSL or whether you've got like the B-listers or the backups, whatever. I mean, like, I think in general, just when you watch Korean esports, no matter whether it's StarCraft or not, you're gonna like just sit there. There's so much hype already just built into it. It's gonna be a good time. I think I'm kind of like with most things that we've talked about today. Like, I think no matter how things get run, the viewers are the ones who end up winning at the end of the day, and I kind of feel like that's kind of the biggest deal. As far as like whether it's fair or players getting the same one cycle through over and over, okay, maybe we might see that, maybe we won't, but at least the opportunity's there for something else. Whereas like, consider an alternative tournament where like GSL is just inviting everybody 100%, then there's no chance for anyone else to get involved or something, right? So I don't know. I think it's gonna be cool. I think it's good for viewers, and that's what I'm most happy about. So.
Aww.
Kane, are you ready to take out your notebook and fap over the VODs?
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I mean,
the right kind of excitement. Right.
I'm excited in many different ways, if you get what I mean.
Yes.
But no, double the leagues, double the amount of VODs, double the players. Well, not double the players, but double the amount of time that you see them. Yeah, I mean, it's like going bareback. It's like not wearing a condom. It's the best.
Whoa there.
Kane, you've been living in Europe too long, man. Come home.
Yeah. What happened to waiting before being married, man? All right. So let's see if there's other questions on Reddit. If Teja wins BlizzCon, would you consider him the greatest StarCraft 2 player in history? If not, who do you think deserves that title and why? Oh God. Hashtag fuck Teja. Nathanias.
Teja. I mean, he's been around much longer than anybody's really cared about him. So, like, it's true. Like, he was on, like, Next or whatever and everything, and Teja no one really gave a shit about him until we saw him become Team Teja for, like, Liquid. So, he's been around as long as anyone else. He's not... It's weird to say that he's not consistent, but... He's very on and off, especially when it comes to things like WCS. Like, you look at him right now, and I mean, I look at Teja and say he's looking like he could win BlizzCon, but despite all of that, he hasn't managed to make it to, like, even the finals of WCS America. So I don't know if I could call him the best player of all time. Like, the most consistent player of all for results was MVP until this year. This is like where he fell off, but I like Teja. I'd say he's already should be accepted as one of the best players ever. And this tournament specifically proves, or at least will disprove people's opinions that players who compete in the North American region or the American region for WCS can't compete with the other guys because, well, I mean, I guess we've already kind of seen that anyway.
Yeah, but you kind of like circled around the question, man. Is he considered the best player?
Is he considered the best player if he wins?
Yeah.
No, the game hasn't been around long enough.
People were ready to give their firstborn child about MVP.
The funny thing is, these are not players that have been good at one game since 2010. These are players that were good at one game at 2010 to 2012, and then pretty good at another game from 2013 to now. And by the way, Teja didn't have the crazy success in the early wing stages like players like MVP did. So if you can, you win back then, you win now. It doesn't matter if the game was in whatever, blah, 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 blah. Consistent over the long period of time is good, but we're not gonna. I think that's kind of silly to say about anybody until we're like a couple years into Legacy, because then we'll actually have something stable, and then won't have patches, every other month, or we won't have. Well, we definitely won't have another expansion to look forward to. I guess.
My
if that
man,
happened, that'd be pretty
you
crazy.
have to believe in the microtransactions, man. Don't kill the dream. Don't kill the dream. All right, RifKin, Teja, best player, yes or no? Don't be a Nathanias. Be short.
It's hard because I'm a Tasia fanboy. Like I've got bias on this one, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no Terran who like when he's on fire can play like Tasia can, right? Like it's just I say he is on and off the best player, but that's kind of StarCraft 2 in general, right? Like there is no best player with 3 different races and all these tournaments. Like even if whoever wins BlizzCon isn't even going to be the best player necessarily, like for more than like maybe a week or something. So I don't know. It's big Tasia fanboy. I want to say yes. That's my heart speaking, but I know that's probably not the actual case.
What about you, Kane?
I don't think so. I think we need to see more consistency. I think consistency is what makes the best player the best player. And right now, Taja's inconsistent. He's consistently good, and then sometimes he's amazing, and then sometimes he's just good, like really good. But yeah, we need to see consistency.
Okay, fair enough. I love to hate on the successful, dominating foreigner Koreans. So rip.
You love to hate on everybody, pretty much.
No, hell no. All right, anyone.
Is
No,
like
no, no,
the
no, 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 no.
StarCraft equivalent of
Anyone that
Renat,
travels
just, like,
to
Salt
every
Factory.
tournament and wins a lot, MC, Yarn, Pol, Teja, Violet, fuck them. That's how I am. You know? But you have that about every sport. It's like if you see a team that always beats your favorite team, your hometown team,
Yeah, fuck
you
the best team.
eventually you're like, fuck these people. So,
Okay.
all
I
right.
get that logic. I get it.
Thank you. So Blizzard give us 2 sound files to hype Legacy of the Void. What do you think we covered that. I suck. Alright, Lycan Grope, fuck Mary Kill, Nathanias, Jim Raynor, the chick from Lano Lake Butterbucks. What the fuck? Is that are those cakes or cigarettes? And
It's
Kevin
butter.
Kevin Smith. Oh, that's butter.
Or
Oh, wow.
margariners.
So fuck Mary Kill.
What a terrible question. I can't answer this.
All right, we'll keep it StarCraft related. Rifkin, Flash, Caitlyn, Rotterdam. Fuck Mary Kill.
I already give my answer. I'll just read it again. Kill Flash because it would make me a god. Mary Caitlyn, I think she'd make a great wife. No sex before marriage, though. Saved myself for Jesus. So I'd also never cheat on my wife. So I'd have to modify the last one. So fuck Rotterdam because Protoss.
Wait. We would be bottom.
Huh?
We would be bottom.
For what?
You or Rotterdam.
Wait.
We
No,
would be.
I'm not saying fuck Rotterdam. I'm gonna have sex with him. I can't. That'd be cheating on my wife. So I'm just saying. In general,
No, you would
fuck
do it
Rotterdam.
before the marriage.
No, I can't. I'm saving myself for Jesus. I just made that
It
very
doesn't
clear.
count when it's in the butt. Have you not
You
heard the
can't-
Christian girls?
I've actually had. Do you know? Do you know what soaking is?
All right, moving on to the next question.
Like,
Realistically,
we're not gonna ask Kane.
Wait!
but
Wait a
yours-
minute.
Yours is
Kane's
not
got ones too. Kane's got a good one.
okay. Ann
Yeah.
Cutler, QXC, M McRib sandwich.
Okay. So I prepared for this question beforehand. So don't ever tell me that I don't come to this show prepared, because I did research, because I didn't know who Ann Coulter was. Okay, or QXC. So
Oh! Where is it? Fuck, I
No,
left my
just
GG
kidding.
button. Go on.
no. So okay. Ann Coulter apparently is pro-life, so she's against abortion. So I'd fuck her and get her prego.
Wow.
Wow! Like,
Okay? Wait. Let me finish here. Let me finish. And then I would marry a McRib sandwich because I could just eat it and then it would go away and I wouldn't have to deal with marriage. And then I'd kill QXC.
Why?
okay, here's my impression.
Well, because process of elimination, pretty much. So
Actually, is that bad if you drop a mic? I was wondering that the other day. Is there
Drop-
repercussions on like the quality of the sound?
I don't know. Don't ever drop a good mic.
But for science, someone has to answer in chat. Anyway, next question. Okay, not that one. Fuck Legacy of the Void. What do you think about people like Gosu User and the Agnes that showed interest in coming back to StarCraft 2 for 2015's Region Log WCS? Do they stand a chance with the new format? That's a question. Kane.
Oh, okay. So I've talked about this on the last show that we had, I think, maybe. and I 100% support them coming back, because it'll be really liberating to have practiced all this time while they're like semi-retired or completely retired, and then if I match them, it'd be really fun to beat them. So I hope they come back, and I hope they.
So it's like a sadist type of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Kane, like he was rubbing his hands like I can't wait for them to come back and lose. Like, oh, it's gonna feel so good.
Yes.
That sounds very scary, man. I've like never talked about it, and then there's always like one German guy that's fucking obsessing about it. Take showed some time ago his new plans, aka his new home for the future. What do you guys think about it, and are you supporting his project? RifKin, as a fellow content producer who's community based, what do you think of Take's plan of getting a studio for multiple games?
Well, according to Reddit, I'm really mad at Take TV because they invited Winter over me for Homestory Cup, something I didn't even know about till it got announced. So I'm pretty pissed and obviously hate everything Take TV related. No, I think it's cool. They've been doing. I mean, look at how well they've been doing with Seat Story Cup, right? Like it makes sense. And the thing too, as sad as this might be,
for
like,
the viewers,
StarCraft,
Seat Story Cup is the Hearthstone tournament of Take TV.
Right, sorry. What I'm saying though is it's not like StarCraft, who's the old man that needs to be taken care of, and they're doing this other thing so they can keep doing StarCraft. It's just really cool that they're expanding to everything. I think it's good. I don't think there's a big downside to it. The cost kind of sucks, but hey, I think they'll make it work. It's Take TV after all. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's not a passion project. Like, they're expanding because they can and because it makes sense, and they'll just be able to do more, and crowdsourcing it is just a quicker way to make everything happen. Nathanias, as someone who's been recently hired by Take TV, what are your thoughts on this new project?
Hired?
Well, don't you go to cast Home Story Cup?
Nah, man. I'm going to Homestory Cup because I'm already going to Sweden, dude. I'm going there to get
What, aren't you
absolutely
hired to
plastered.
cast? Or...
Nah, man. No. I'm just
All right, Nathanias, I'm
Fucking
sorry.
Hey, desRow, thanks for doing your homework for coming on the show tonight.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you're like, I'm going to cast at Home Story Cup, and then
I
your job is
probably-
to be
I
a
mean,
caster.
I'll probably cast a game or two. Sure, why not? But
Oh,
sure as
okay, so
hell
you're
not
attending
gonna-
like, on your
It'll be like
own.
when they had Apollo come on, or like
I'll be like
James
any
did.
other guy that's there that sits on the couch after like a couple of drinks with the Muslim. That'll pretty much like that's
Couple of drinks.
You don't
I-
stop
I
at
am
a
a-
couple.
I am
We
ex-
know you.
I am excited. I am excited to go to a StarCraft event and not have to work. That is what Homestory Cup is to me.
Okay.
I have to interject here because I guess people didn't pick up on the sarcasm. Like the whole thing I said, sure, Take, like guys, it's not even real. Like they invited Winter, and I'm really happy he's a friend of mine. I didn't ask to be invited, and I wasn't considered. Oh God, no. Like,
It's okay, Rifkin. We all love
Salty.
you.
Are you
I
mad,
just want
Rifkin?
to clarify so that no one takes it the wrong way because
How mad are you?
I'm like 10 months, bro.
PJ Salt. Kane, what are your thoughts on the Take venture?
Yeah, I don't know much about it. I'm not involved in it because I don't support esports. So, yeah, I mean, good for him, I think. I think he's trying to expand and trying to move forward, so good. I'm happy for him.
Nice.
I wish him the best.
Yes. It's nice to know you're not a bitter person.
I am, but I just don't show it.
Yeah, Take is an awesome guy anyway. Those
Kane-
people are doing.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. You're the
Stop-
Canadian, so
Yeah, stop being Canadians, guys.
I apologize first. Let me apologize to you.
Anyway, the Take TV guys, Dennis especially, those people do think, unless like there's some skeletons I don't know about, those people do shit the right way. So all power to them. Keep growing and making shit more awesome. I love them.
I was just gonna comment. Kane saying no salt, but he just finished exclaiming how happy he was everyone coming back to lose. So I mean,
I mean,
it's like,
hey, a man's gotta,
just saying
a man's gotta put food on the table, and that's what I am, Rifkin. I'm a man who's gotta put food on my table.
yeah.
Is that
for
what-
every
is that why
sandwich
you-
bites.
Is that why you go for the beard, Kane? Because you want to appeal to your bear fan base? Since you're a bear?
Okay.
Isn't Bear like a hairy gay guy?
Yes.
So wait, desRow's logo is a panda bear.
Yep.
Oh shit! Stay the hell away from me, desRow.
That's
this shit
very
this
bad
shit
gay
ain't
guy,
gonna work
sure.
out.
Yeah. So moving on, I think we can all agree upon some Koreans 4GG improving the local scene. Do you think Blizz should make some exceptions for some people who have stayed in that region for multiple years? Kane, 4GG, your thoughts?
When you start making exceptions, it gets really dangerous.
Yes.
And other people feel like they should be part of the exception as well.
I'm being discriminated. I'd like to file a lawsuit because this
Exactly.
person also doesn't meet the
Well-
qualifications, but they're allowed to compete. This affects my livelihood, so therefore this exception for a specific person that has no legal basis, blah 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 blah
Not
blah.
all American.
If you put the same rules to everybody, it's gonna suck for
just
some people
easier.
at first. When change comes, there are always people that are negatively affected. The only thing that really sucks, is from what I've researched, 4GG actually had what he needed to compete under
Yeah,
the current
he had
system a year ago. So honestly, it should be on Millennium or whoever's ass to get him that shit back, because as far as I'm aware, there are other Koreans that are currently trying to make this happen for themselves in America and Europe. And I mean, if they can do it, surely 4GG has the
I think he had to learn French and
documentation.
then he
Hang
bailed
on,
out
hang
of
on.
it.
There's a really important point that we talked about earlier, though, where like it really sucks when information doesn't come public early. Like schedules is one thing. This is another thing where like if 4GG knew when he went to renew his visa last year that this would be a problem this year, and again, this is like an insanely impossible thing to have requested.
Yeah,
but
that's-
like if
that's
you knew
true.
about it, this would never have happened in the first place. There wouldn't be this issue that we're having right now for him. So it sucks because I feel like, well, this isn't a case, like there are sometimes where you're right, Kane, you can't make exceptions. It opens a bad door that you can't close. But there are some very clear-cut examples like this one where I feel like I don't think there's anyone who's going to feel wronged by them fixing them essentially fucking over 4GG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough situation for everyone. I
The
don't
only
know.
reason why I have any sympathy is because the guy actually lives in Europe. Like, he actually lives there. He's been
For a
there
long time,
he's been there for a very long time. All the other Koreans that are like, they might be upset that they have to leave. I don't really feel bad. I do feel for 4GG, and I would prefer, rather than making an exception for Blizzard Europe or Blizzard to somehow actually help him get whatever he needs, because my understanding would be that like he wasn't planning to go move back to live full time in Korea. So it's a bit more complicated than someone like, MC, who has a home base in Korea, right? It's not like those people have been bouncing back and forth all year. Like they're not actually committed to living there. But 4GG, you're almost fucked at that point.
Mm-hmm. We didn't cover too much drama on this show, so let's make it happen. Noni posted a very weird video on his Twitter. And I know on his Twitter and on YouTube, and it's a black guy saying, "Does it matter?" And the video is about a second.
It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very cryptic. Is it?
Maybe it's a new unit being released in Legacy of the Void.
Wait,
a
what?
black
Black
guy
guy?
that plays basketball.
Black guy.
For which race, Rifkin?
I'm just saying, it's the same tactics that StarCraft is doing with the sound clips, right? You're like,
Are we really this low on interesting things to
doesn't
talk
matter.
about that we have to?
My man, we didn't do any drama this episode. Why are you
This-
giving
this
me a
is-
hard
here's my
time?
drama. Here's my drama. I love Noni. I'm a big Noni fan, but like, this is like talking about Indra right now compared to
This
StarCraft.
is the
Like, it's
least.
just- it's
This
not
is
that
the
big of a
least
deal.
interesting thing we've talked about today. Sorry.
What about me or Kane and Rotterdam being bottom? That was the lead. That was okay. Anyway,
You guys do stuff with StarCraft that people see, so people might actually care about that. I don't know.
oh, so you're saying Noni is too irrelevant for us to talk about?
I don't. Let's move on.
All right, Nathanias, I don't want you to be mad at me.
I'll say it. I love Noni. I wish he streamed more. I wish he played more. I will say he's not doing anything really to be involved right now. It sucks because I'm a big Noni fan. I would love for him to come here and prove me fucking wrong, but like we just don't see enough out of him. I'm sorry.
The problem for me is I don't know anything about him because he wasn't really doing anything by the time I started getting into competitive StarCraft. So unless there's something that, like, this just seems like he tweeted like a random link and people are like getting interested over it, but I don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, on the bright side, let's hope he's all right and he's doing well and nothing bad is happening.
Yeah. Hope all is well.
Yes. If you want to wish him if you want to wish him well, here's his Twitter. All right, moving on.
Oh, it's this Heroes of the Storm announcement is probably what it is.
You what? All right.
Because that's where all the StarCraft 2 players are going.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh, do you think the pro scene would be better if health insurance was offered for players by team tournaments to help players like Teja?
Dude, I think you know what would be sick.
That's a great question, actually.
It would be sick if I had health insurance for talking about StarCraft. That shit is just I don't know how it works in Korea, but from how my European friends troll me, it's not that big of a deal for them. I think that only matters for Americans, and I guess with our level of skill, we clearly don't deserve it because the two best Americans are Canadians anyway, so they have health insurance anyway.
Mm-hmm. Moving on. New rules of WCS format. Participants are required to play all tournaments and ladder games from the country listed on the account during the tournament season. Blizzard will check IP connections at its discretion. So actually, that kind of fucks me over since I play like 9 to 5 or 7 to 5, and I play on EU. RIP. And it's kind of cool though. Yeah, go on, Kane. What are your thoughts?
So this is something that Penguin brought up the other day, and it seems like I don't know if it's just the way he explained it or the wording in the manual or whatever it is, but from what I understand, you can't ladder on Korea or something like that. Like if you're playing WCSNA, you have to play the NA server at all times. Or is that what they're saying? That can't be what they're saying, right?
No. My understanding of this, and this is actually something that I'll ask Blizzard about probably, and maybe we'll hear more about it at BlizzCon. But my understanding of it is that in the context of the requirements to participate in the wildcard qualifiers this year, this is where that falls into. So if you want to compete in WCS, there's a couple of tiny things as well. But if you want to compete in WCS, you will have to qualify. If you want to qualify, you will have to meet some requirement that has not yet been announced by Blizzard. That will probably be related to your league, the region that you're playing, the amount of ladder games you've played on a named account. And because we had a lot of problems this last year with people like, it's not to like shit talk players, but some players would show up to play round of 16 live and they'd be on a barcode account. And like we use, it's no secret, guys, we use the interfaces nameplates. So only very recently have there been like advancements in the observer interface that we could change names, but even that is actually not that easy to do. So my understanding is that those accounts you will be required to play on for all of your matches, because there's lots of people that play challenger games with barcode accounts. There's lots of people that you can't tell who's in the channel, and the IP thing is to my understanding that when you are playing your WCS matches, you will have to be playing from an IP in the region that you're supposed to be playing. So if you want to play in WCS America, I guess even if you meet all the requirements, you'll have to actually be in America or at least be able to, play from an American ping.
I don't think it'd be that bad if you were required to ladder only on that server and only on that account.
From what I gather of this, and like I said, I'll clarify, I think it'll probably be like win X number of games or something before you can compete in the qualifier, or have X number of games played, but you won't be punished for like laddering on a barcode when you're not playing on that one, or like barcoding on another server. It should be fine.
So on a totally unrelated note, do you guys know any programs that can fake your IP location?
Totally. Message me after the broadcast. It's like the easiest thing to do in the world.
Okay.
I just want to bring this up too. Like, I think a lot of these changes they definitely made with keeping in mind what happened with was it XY and I think Iasanu? Were those the two Chinese ones that got in trouble?
Yes.
They did they try, for those who missed out on it, basically there's two players that tried to win trade to make the requirement. So like I think Blizzard realized their current requirements weren't cutting it. And a lot of these changes seem like kind of crazy a little bit, but they were almost certainly made with that in mind, trying to prevent cheating the system. So whether it's a joke about a VPN or swapping your IPs, or whether it's like win trading on ladder, I mean, it makes sense that they're, and I like that they're taking a different approach to it. I have no idea if this is gonna work or not, because I feel like there's always gonna be somebody who'll find like that cheeky bugger way around the system.
Yeah, I mean I guess it's just like a base level thing to stop, or at least stop people that aren't technologically savvy from doing something really dumb, like having someone else play on their account when they play their online matches or some shit.
Yeah.
But I guess it's easy enough to spoof your IP, right? I mean, technically you could even give someone else the ability to use your own IP for playing the game. So, yeah.
Oh, alright. There's a weird question. WCS has so many power-hungry White Knight mods as well. It's fucking disgusting. 50% of the chat is banned. 95% of the 50% that are left aren't sub. And the rest of the people are getting banned.
It's not sub-only mode. We're all just banned.
Do you think this is also affecting viewership? And do you think it should be left to bots only to moderate the chats? Just like at Riot Games have their Twitch chats. Sorry.
Oh, what?
So I'll speak on this a little bit real quick.
Yes.
I've made a post about this before, and I've been very verbal about this. Like, if I get timed out in a stream or a stream's in sub-only mode, like, I'm not staying around. It's no fun for me. Like, half the Twitch experience for me, honestly, is being in chat. Whether it's spamming copy passes like an idiot, or whether it's actually contributing to discussion. I mean, like, it sucks when you can't do any of that. So I'll be there for 5 seconds. Maybe the games will entice me, but then in my mind, I'm like, I can watch the VODs later. Why am I wasting my time here right now? And I'll go to another stream. So does it affect viewership? Absolutely. Is it on a grand scale? That's too hard to tell. But I know that it does suck if you get timed out, or if you get banned for something you didn't do, or if it's in sub-only mode and you can't talk. I'll be the last person in that stream.
Yeah, we did a little experiment in WCS America. I believe it was during season 2. I was very adamant about this, and I was very strongly opposed by the people in charge to not do sub mode on our Twitch chat. And the statistics strongly favored me for groups that did not have like star players that drew people. On days where we did not have sub mode, the viewer count was higher. It wasn't an issue. It wasn't like, oh, this group had Jaedong and the other one had all foreigners. No, these were like pretty comparable groups. The chat was obviously much more active, including from people that were subscribed on days where there was no sub chat. I really don't see a reason why you try to control more than a couple thousand. Like at this point, like having a mod for this chat is understandable, but if you're once you're breaking that 4,000 or 5,000, like controlling shit like that, especially for a tournament, like it just doesn't work. You're better off having like one good bot that will get rid of like the massive ASCII spam, like Hitler faces or giant penises.
What about the word of Illo?
I don't give a shit. But the point is, like, anything that's like really terrible, you get a bot for, like all the standard really bad stuff, and then you just let people go hog wild. Like sub mode is, it's such a turnoff, right? People always talk about the crowd at the events, right? They're like, oh man, it's like, you're only legally allowed to have 15 people come sitting and watching, and they're not loud enough, right? Well, just imagine if we were like, guys, you're actually not allowed to raise your voices because some
Stream
guy
might hear you.
blah 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 blah, right? And then it's like, well, that's not really exciting. That's the same. Twitch chat is like a giant fucking crowd. See, it's like you're disregarding the fact that despite having 30 people in your studio, there's like 30,000 people on the internet that want to have the equivalent of a cheer in the chat. Like, throw me a fucking bone here, right?
There was.
I have a question though. For Nathanias. Now, when you're talking about like one bot to control the entire channel, and you're talking about like banning the ASCII, like the spam or whatever, including giant penises, right? Now, what if we hear me out? What if we allowed the giant penises, and that could attract a new viewer base, primarily females and possibly homosexuals?
Kane's just telling us he's sick of getting banned in chat just for having a giant penis, guys. Is what I'm hearing. No, but there was. Do you guys remember this? The first music was Steve Aoki or whatever. He came on and like it's just music, but man, chat, including Twitch staff, they were just spamming those stupid little dance emotes. And I remember the only reason I found out about that stream was because my buddy was like, hey, "You got to see like 50,000 people spamming this dumb retarded thing." I absolutely tuned in just because of this horrible spam in Twitch chat. I mean,
take it a step further. why isn't there a WCS Kappa emote?
Right? Like, they've got you casting.
I understand when when you look at companies that have shit like this, right? We have like emotes or whatever. It's cool. I like that. I bet if we had statistics on I'm going to go to the channel right now. If we had statistics on the emotes that are used during games, like there's no way that there are not trends of which emotes people use more. And it might not sound like it means like it matters, but
It's
when people do some sort of Oracle or Widowmine cheese, people are gonna post that. People are not just gonna randomly post zealots and lings, or at least not spam them, right? But when an Oracle runs in, you do that. So why not use the fact that you're broadcasting this, which by WCS requirements on Twitch, try to appeal to the viewer base of the platform that you're broadcasting on. Did GSL Kappa thing people are posting in chat? I fucking love that. I mean, of course, the problem is GSL costs to your firstborn child to get their emotes, but it's not a terrible idea to try to appeal to the people that you want to watch you.
Many
it's
times?
It's the same logic of why don't people want to participate in our stream when we do the one thing that no actual full-time professional streamer does, which is Nazi mod sub mode and
What about Day 9?
limited
Dude,
quality.
no, hang on. No, but seriously, on
But
top of
that's-
this, how
it's
many
different.
times does Nate or Rotterdam say Kappa or Kappa HD like on a cast between them? Like, it sounds like a big joke, but you're with the Oracle thing. Like, I would spam a WCS emote. Like, I would probably sub for a WCS Kappa emote, and I would sub any WCS stream.
Yeah. Well, it's not because I obviously, it's no secret that I'm a memer, but I like Twitch.
I'm a memer, guys.
I'm a closet memer.
Twitch chat. I love the wild Twitch chat, man. It's like the fucking wild
No, but
west out
it's
there.
advertisement. Like, seriously, it's
great.
advertisement. Let's say I've got the WCS Nate Kappa face or whatever, right? And I'm watching Red Bull. Maybe there's some Red Bull fans who don't watch WCS. They're there because it's just Red Bull hype. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, hey, that emote's pretty funny. Where can I get that? And that absolutely, I'm speaking from experience. I have so many people who are subbed to my channel that don't even watch StarCraft 2, that love the Tasia clap. And they just want the Tasia clap, and that's it. And when they spam that elsewhere, that's advertisement. Like, WCS could and should capitalize on that.
Yeah, very true.
Capitalize on your audience.
Capitalize. Yes.
Speaking of another way to capitalize on your audience, Restar Crown on Twitter is asking, what would you think of releasing replays back from WCS to the subs instead of the current sub perks? Nathanias with your weird smile and then front face.
So I'll tell you what, right? I guess specifics are out of the question on this one, but
if Day9 can have the replays 2 days later.
It is no secret if you watch the WCS broadcasts that the whole thing is dead. If you want to get people to sub to WCS, because not a lot of people do, the one weird trick is to do stuff like that. I completely agree. Giving out replays, but it has to be done in a weird way. At the end of the season, I think, like if you subscribe, like it's so brilliant because it's already packaged perfectly. You can either sub for the whole year or you can sub for individual seasons. You sub for a season when the season is over, then you get replays. There's no season finals, so there's absolutely no reason to hold on to the replays because by the time BlizzCon rolls around, except for maybe season 3, those replays are not of enough use that it's going to be the game-changing decision.
Yeah, but old replays are not very. It's like fucking old bread.
But
like
but it's still better than nothing.
Yes,
like
but
there are reasons why you do not want to, like, for example, right? Like, oh, there's a whole week until BlizzCon. Why haven't Blizzard given out all
yeah,
the
but if
replays
Day9 can have the
from
replays
season?
2 days later, why you can give to everyone?
I don't think that's the same at all, desRow.
So here's the thing. People like Day9, like myself, like we have agreements for making educational content for viewers, people like you. We are not allowed to give those to anybody. Like I specifically, in order for me to be allowed to look at replays, because I've done analysis.
You sign an NDA?
It's not even an NDA.
Yeah, I know.
Sharing the info.
The handshake where I get the replays involves me agreeing that, like.
Yeah,
For
no, but I
example,
know, I
study-
understand that. I
But
understand
you
that, but
cannot
like,
give them to
yeah, but
any
it's dumb.
other. You cannot
Because
give them to any player
but
because it's unfair competitive advantage for someone.
Kane, your thoughts
Just
as a
saying.
player. Yeah, I understand. Kane, your thoughts
Wow,
as a
you
player.
just got cut off.
No,
Shit.
but we understand his point. Like, that's why they don't do it. But I feel like that's ridiculous. I feel like they should just suck it up. Kane,
It
from a
has to
player's point of
be.
view.
Yeah, like it would provide an unfair competitive advantage. So you have to do it like at like the end of the season or something like that. But yeah, you would have to go about it in a very careful and controlled manner for
Okay.
sure.
Okay, I feel like we've come this far that replays are not that big of a deal. But if you disagree with me, I'll have to suck it up.
I've been
disagree.
digging through them, man. I've been looking through those Tasia games and shit, and I definitely think that, you know, if there's a chance that if life had an opportunity, you know, to get his hands on those, I bet you he'd be willing to give up a lot just to get a better look at those games. Believe
What
me.
do you think? What do you think he'd give up to get those games?
I don't fucking know. I'm not life.
Hang on, no.
Take
This is really important.
if you were
though.
life.
If I was life, at the potential of making thousands and thousands of dollars,
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much money he has, but I wouldn't spend anything that you'd be willing to put money on it for sure.
Okay.
Hang on, no, this goes back to the whole Kespa thing. The reason they're so adamant about, like, yo, the Leaf Fang Cup, deleting not only replays but VODs, you can't say replays aren't that big of a deal anymore. Like, that is just an untrue statement.
I mean, I don't know. Waiting 3 months to release replays feels
So
very
desRow,
like, it feels shitty. It feels like, okay,
It
I have like
does.
three months old replay. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, I don't even want to wipe my ass with 3 months old replay.
How long have we had Colossus openers versus 10 right now? It's been more than 3 months.
But,
Like,
but that's my point.
it's not like the game, the meta will shift, yes, maybe, but chances are those replays are still going to be relevant. They're still going to help you to improve. And if you're really that desperate, chances are you could just watch that VOD a million times over and learn everything you need anyways.
Mhm.
I mean, the VODs are immediate. The VODs are free most of the time.
Yeah, but it's okay. So I'm biased because as a Protoss player, there's nothing in the UI that indicates when something's being chrono boosted. Therefore, watching replays as a Protoss player or VODs as a Protoss player is fucking painful. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes
what
sense. That makes
What
sense.
you've just mentioned is something that's a really, really big deal for the people who design the interface for observing games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I agree with you there. You should be able, as a viewer, without the help of the observer, understand what's going on in a game at all times. Things like Chrono Boost on a production tab, I don't think it would be too difficult to put an icon or maybe change the color of the progress bar or something, and even just like highlight something that shows that it's being Chrono Boosted. I agree on that regard, but I still think that giving out replays for something like that is still you're getting a small gain. It's like a very marginal gain for potentially what could cause someone to lose. For example, BlizzCon, if all the replays were out right now for the players to look at.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on. desRow and Kane, do you think you have a good chance at taking one of the 8 NA spot next season?
Sure.
Well, I mean, I can't say yes, but my goal was to make top 5 before they announced the restricted spots. But so yeah, if I was planning to make top 5, then yeah, I'm planning to make top 8. Is it better to be focusing on a few good tournaments league or having many okay tournament leagues? RifKin.
So what's the question?
Is it better to have few good tournaments or is it okay to have many okay, in quotes, tournament leagues?
So like what, like one big tournament versus like all the weekly go for StarCrafts, or I'm not sure if I fully understand the context. I guess like, okay, if my assumption is that he means like, is it better to have like one big ass tournament versus like a lot of weeklies? I'd say you're never gonna have a situation where that's ever going to be exclusive one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is better for the players to have the weeklies. It's more regular practice, and it's not your life on the line. And as we've seen through WCS, if you get knocked out early, you're shit out of luck for 3 months. So it kind of, if it was one or the other, I would never pick the big one because it would drastically kill the performance of players if they had to sit there for 3 months with nothing to compete in.
Yeah. No, it's very true. Plus, it kind of feeds the whole chain if there's more to play in. So if you only do big tournaments, then not a lot of people get a piece of the pie. Kane, any thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely prefer little ones over big ones.
But not penises.
Well, you still haven't answered if you would prefer to be bottom or top. So, moving on.
There are children that watch this show.
Are there?
I saw Ariam in the chat.
It's funny because it's true.
Oh God.
Oh, that couldn't be better.
Guys, I think that wraps up the show. There's nothing left on Twitter that can live up to that. All right, Kane.
Before we shit talk Ariam, big shout out to Ariam though. Like he took out Balloon. Like he was one of the American players. I said, like, and I know Balloon's not the craziest Korean, but like Ariam was the last guy expected to take out a Korean for like something WCS related. So as much as we want to give him shit, I'm gonna give him a little bit of a shout out. I like that kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, of course he's an awesome dude. He's always
like him
messages me. Yeah.
He is like
He's on my team. He's on MOA.
Yeah, that's where you like him, eh?
And we Snapchat each other pretty frequently as well.
Roddy and I hyped him up all season long, and he eliminated Revival, which people don't forget. He eliminated
that.
Revival from WCS America Season 3. That's no small feat, considering that Revival had a top 4 finish this year in WCS.
What it is EVP revivals.
Yo, man. If you could be like, well, clearly Sue's ZVT sucks, but I think if he played Nathanias, he'd probably still win Kappa HD.
Kane, I
I
think
would
you're.
actually probably say it with revival right now. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen a lot
You
of
think I'm
revival.
what? That's true.
I think you're on some kind of list for saying you're Snapchatting Ariam now. But
Well, obviously not that kind of.
Oh.
Just regular.
all right, Kane.
Shout out time.
Yeah, let's do the shout outs. So, Kane, what's coming up for you this weekend, month, whatever?
Well, let's see. There's Home Story Cup in like 2 weeks, I think.
Yes.
Or not even 2 weeks. It's like 8 days it starts or something. So like, no. Yeah, 8 days. So I'll be going to that, and so that's in Germany. And then after BlizzCon, there's the RifKin. I'm playing in one of your tournaments, I think.
Yeah, so the date's still not decided, but it's probably
For
gonna be the
the
weekend
32
after Home Story
boys?
Cup.
Yeah. So I play against Gumiho in that, I think. So those
yeah.
are the only
Rip.
planned things that I have up and coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rip pretty much.
Rip
But,
Gumiho.
no, but I won't be in Europe for too much longer. I'm going back to Canada as soon as I can after Home Story.
Mm.
So
I like how
I'll
you
be-
say as soon as I can, because fuck Europe, right? Canada's so good.
Oh yeah, man, Canada is really good.
Yeah.
Canada's amazing.
I know. All right.
Tim Hortons. Oh, the first thing I do when I'm gonna get back.
Have you been
miss
missing
Tim
Timmy's, bud?
Hortons.
Have you
Oh,
missed
I have. I'm
Timmy's?
gonna get like a 36 pack of Tim Hortons Timbits and just go to town. You have no idea.
Tim Hortons.
A fucking large ice cap and a 36 pack. Oh, nothing better, boys.
Do you have your
Nothing
ice
better.
cap with
You
chocolate
drink it when you're
milk?
19.
No.
dude.
Just with
No,
regular
you,
milk.
you should try it with chocolate milk, man. It's living the dream.
I'll
Ari
try
should
it.
come to Canada.
Yes.
Maybe he can drink that.
What about you, Rifkin? What are you up to next?
I'm looking so fucking forward to BlizzCon.
Yeah. Did you get your
Unbelievably
pass?
so. Yeah, Zombie and I are both going. I splurged and I bought so much dumb shit from our own store that I'm gonna just give away at BlizzCon too. So if you guys are going to BlizzCon, hunt me down and get like a free T-shirt or something. But there's so much more to it than just StarCraft for me. I'm definitely most stoked for StarCraft. I can't wait to be in that crowd. But there's I for those who don't know, I do like a little bit like a dabble in everything. So I enjoy Warcraft. I enjoy Hearthstone, all these other things. So I'm really excited for BlizzCon on all facets. But most importantly, shout out to Solidus Dub. He donated Zombie and I enough money to go buy a Disneyland ticket. And I've never fucking been to Disneyland. So we
You'll love
extended our stay by 1 day so we could go to fucking Disneyland.
Take lots of pictures, okay? I want to see you and Zombie Grub on like huge ass roller coaster screaming your
Why?
asses
So you can
off.
cause more drama, Kane? So you can go.
What kind of drama could I cause out of that?
I don't know, dude. The last time was pretty bad at that bar, man.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Zombie
but
Grub's my lover.
But like as far as
Are you
tournaments
still the
go,
bottom there?
32
No, I'm
boys,
not.
1 cup. Definitely looking forward to that. I hate that we had to put it off till after BlizzCon, but I'm stoked. We got the round of 8 still. We got the semifinals, the finals. That's gonna be a fucking good end to the tournament, and I'm looking forward to watching Kane kick Gumiho's ass.
Nice.
You know, no bias. You're a caster. You're supposed to be neutral.
I'm looking forward to Kane kicking Gumio's ass
I'm
with a
looking
3-0.
forward to Gumiho doing some crazy ass shit.
It's really cool how Gumio has been coming out lately. There was something, I think it was last week on Reddit, where there's his Aligulite graph has gone up so much since he left CJ. Unfortunately for him, no one's looking for Koreans, so he's kind of rip. But maybe he can get a new big contract with Kesper.
I bet he'll join a Kesper team. Yeah.
Yeah, and get a very juicy one. Anyway, sorry, Nathanias, what's up? What's up for you soon? Coming up.
Obviously, I guess BlizzCon this weekend. I am so excited, man. I have dreamed about going to see BlizzCon since I was a wee lad playing Diablo 2 on dial-up and not knowing what the word noob meant. This is the first time I've ever gone, so this is going to be a big experience for me, I guess. Hopefully, I guess like my casting doesn't.
It's your
suck.
first BlizzCon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see everything that goes, and I hope that we get to hear a lot about Legacy of the Void. Outside of that, Home Story Cup I'm going to be going to pretty much right after. Then I'm going to Sweden. I'm going to do Fragbite Masters, and then I think that's pretty much it for me for the year. So
Are you
watch
not
my
doing
stream.
DreamHack?
No.
Rip.
Rip. Yeah. Well, that's I don't want to air my laundry here, but yeah, I won't be doing DreamHack. I will be in Sweden doing Fragbite.
Did your father take your casting job?
And well, his hair is starting to come. He doesn't have hair as good as mine. But aside from that, watch my stream, and shout out to all of you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. And shout out to Cyber Power Gaming for hooking me up with a computer to use while I'm streaming from Sweden. So yeah, and shout out to Red Bull because Mr. Bitter has a sword. You guys just can't see him outside the camera.
Tell him to come in.
God, if only there's
Show-
a way you
show
could
us the
move the
sword.
camera
They
to
want to
show
see
the.
the face.
I want to see his sword. Come on.
Yeah.
Ugly face. How dare you?
What? We want. You said he had a sword. He doesn't have a sword. Make him go
Yeah, we
away.
don't care what Mr. Bitter
Make him
wanted
go
a sword.
away.
What the?
They don't have his actual sword. You like my
Oh.
air mattress?
Bouncing on
What?
the bed like a kid.
He's missed some talk shows. Wow.
All of those girls, man. You have no idea.
Oh, I do hear a girl.
Oh, there's a girl, eh? Nice.
Someone else can do the shout outs now.
Yes. All right. So, thank you for watching the show, guys. As always, we've sold 3 shirts in the last week. We're going to the moon pretty soon. Next week, I don't know if Huck will return. He said he was going to do it last week, and then he told me at 5 a.m. that he wasn't going to make it, so he probably partied too hard. So, don't send him any money to feed his cocaine addiction. And as for me, I'll be at BlizzCon, so if you want to see me, if you want a big hug, come say hi. And yeah, that wraps up the show, guys. The part 1's already on YouTube because I'm a good host this time around. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you guys next week. All right. You guys are... Yeah, love you all. Bye.